Before I tear open this Masters of the Universe Origins Snake Mountain playset, just wanted to take a look at all the artwork that went into the box. Right here on the front, a lot of snake men being represented here. When this playset originally released in 1984, the snake men weren't even part of the line yet, not till years later. But Snake Mountain has of course since been linked to the snake men with the snake connection. But there's been a lot of figures released in Origins since the Castle Grayskull playset, so we have kind of a weird assortment displayed on this one of just figures that weren't featured on the Castle Grayskull box before. So there's a few oddities, and some that don't quite exist for Origins just yet, as of this. Waiting for Too Bad, pictured here. But pretty typically epic artwork. Notably on the side, Skeletor's kind of flying vehicle. Not one that ever got made as a toy for the original toy line. Something we could see when they start doing the Filmation cartoon figure. And some ghostly Snake Man on the side with Point Dread, the Talon Fighter, flying overhead. But we can see on the back of the box, this is where a lot of strange things get advertised on the back. The Snake Man, yes, but we have Frogmonger that was actually an exclusive, so it's kind of weird to advertise him and like the Triclops that are kind of not really available to order anywhere right now. So it makes for some strange box art just to see, just because of the order they've been releasing things for Origins line here. Let's see what's old and new with this version of Snake Mountain. We'll get it put together and we'll check out absolutely everything on this thing. Now, it comes well protected with plastic inside the box and some other padding here. And a lot of pieces, which is good. We got lots of stuff to check out. Hello, testing. Microphone doesn't have any batteries. Oh my god. This is probably why they call it Snake Mountain. Duh. There's so many pieces here, I'm gonna have to just assemble it and then go over it first. We can do a couple notable pieces real quick. The throne, kind of straight out of the cartoon for Skeletor. Kind of a big omission from the playset. The cartoon would have been running by the time they got to this playset. They didn't have something similar to this. I mean, it probably would have just been a sticker chair. But here we have fully molded, so worth the wait after all this time. The skulls on the bottom are movable. Are they bug skulls? They have antennas? A strange but cool addition. And again, the microphone has been shortened because we don't have the microphone electronics anymore. It's kind of one of the only real features to the original playset. But we have the piece represented here, just shortened, but the visual is here. It's just not going to have poor electronics for increasing your voice. I always thought this thing looked like a rat, not a wolf, so that was always strange. And we have this pack of Jell-O here. I think you can make your own Jell-O. Oh wait, no, it's just different stuff. So kind of like a Grayskull style set of weapons, but in wacky lime green, a spear, a shield, kind of like the Skeletor battle armor one. Ah, it's a spider! We have a spider. Why? I don't know. There's a spider. He's a little soft. Kind of creeps me out. Nice green sword to go with the other shield and spear weapon. I believe we get a little weapons rack that those will go on nicely. And we have some critters here, some 3D ones to go with the old pit sticker that's been a little increased once we get a look at this playset fully. So this little dude, pretty chunky, I think pegs, so it kind of goes in, looks like they're sitting in the liquid. This dragon thing looks incredible. Just solid color, but pretty nicely done. Really expanding the sticker decal into 3D. Okay, we gotta build Snake Mountain, let's go. And that's Snake Mountain all assembled. So let's kind of go over the exterior here first. Kind of go across, look at all the little bits and features on here. First up, of course, the shackles and the little shelf here. Little prisoner spot, although it's a little strange it's on the outside instead of inside. Seems a little not secure. So it could even be Skeletor punishing his own minions for failing him. You could kind of put them out there. But with Origins, since the figures kind of come apart in different spots, it's suggesting you take the hands out and then kind of snap them back in place, and that'll keep them shackled in place. So kind of using an Origins figure feature there to make this shackle thing work. Soft plastic chains there. Of course, we have that coloring here with the kind of old school spray paint like the original one. The purple plastic, but then just accented with this kind of grayish and then the black over top. So we have the black path leading up to here with a little shelf for the figures and walkway. There is some pegs here that you can actually pose some figures on here. Since with Origins, it's a little bit about the play features of old, but a lot about the display more, since they have cut a lot of play features of the past in favor of that display and adult collector in mind. All the organic looking detail with the vines and all of that, and then there's a lot of faces throughout the mountain. Of course, the main face right here, a lot of people call it the demon face, although it looks a little goofier than that. But there's the horns you can see, the sticker eyes already in place, and from the inside there's a mechanism to move the mouth, because again, this wolf on the top used to be a microphone, so you could kind of puppet the mountain like it was talking, or maybe Skeletor was talking through the other side. But the mouth is still there. Following the path, and we have the bridge then that snaps into place with the viney sort of guardrails here. Again, it is pretty narrow, but there are peg spots for displaying figures on it again. They can stand on it kind of facing outward, again with display more in mind. And if you are displaying Snake Mountain, I would say the outside is probably the more iconic appearance. A lot like Castle Grayskull, really, just because the castle front is so visually iconic with the stuff. Here's really the Snake Mountain part of the mountain. So it is good there's a lot of display points for that. No like breakaway feature with the bridge or something wacky like that. With the other side, this is kind of like a staircase that they have made a little wider maybe, and there is more display spots on there, but the walkway kind of blocking that, going up with the same kind of colored path with the spray paint looking apps. A lot of monstery faces, you know, like got the kind of gorilla here up to the top with the namesake snake, which does have like a big ball joint articulated head now, and the mouth opening and closing. And it does have one turn point here midway. It kind of snaps. Now it's possible mine's just too stiff, but it's supposed to maybe turn in so you could attack a character that's standing at the top of the mountain here. It's a little stiff, so I'm not sure if it's really supposed to move at another spot, so I don't really want to force anything through. Might need to heat it up or something like that to get things moving. But we have the gate at the top, another kind of wolf head. The door just opens. There's another peg spot at the top for display. The arch with the bat, and then the peak of the mountain, which is super tall now. It's getting almost close to 26 inches in height. I would imagine that's considerably bigger than the original Snake Mountain from the 80s. So it does make it more impressive as a mountain. Since a lot of people always complain the Snake Mountain, the original one, was a little small. But throughout all Masters of the Universe, Skeletor's only goal in comics, cartoons, about anything, he wanted Castle Grayskull. So it had to be some kind of upgrade to get Grayskull, kind of make it cooler. But they've really improved the Snake Mountain with the height. Very impressive. So far on the outside, all kind of original features that the first one really had. It's not until we get on the inside we start getting some new ones for Origins. Down below here we have the little hole there with like a soft plastic, like the vines, kind of the secret entry and exit out of Snake Mountain there, instead of just using the gate. Great exterior. The face here kind of just more iconic for the toy end. The big curled snake, a lot more like the Filmation cartoon. So it's kind of a mix, and I do collect Origins as the mix of representing the old toy line that I never got to have as a kid, and for the cartoon that I did get to watch. It's just interesting to see what they chose to keep the same and what they chose to upgrade. But we'll look at the interior now. With the gate, it leads right to a trap. There's a trap door right here when you come in that gate, so it's not really the best way inside the castle. for the heroes. We do have a ladder piece that you could use on the outside, but it kind of defeats a lot of the paths and purposes of the functions outside. So I feel like with this level, this ladder probably is best suited inside if they were able to overcome the trapdoor or even the villains kind of going out. They need some way to access this top level. So we have the button-activated trapdoor, which originally there was a net on the 80 snake mount. Here we can either have it open, so they just fall, or there is this new cage piece that's really cool, a little prison that slides into place and is kind of like a bucket to catch any character that falls through the trap door. Now you have to really slide this into place and have everything just right for the door to open as it's supposed to. So it is a little tricky, and you might get some disappointment with moving things around too much, trying to get it to work. Probably works best without the cage underneath it, because that's what's kind of hindering. There's this little rock piece that makes it easier to kind of flip the trapdoor back up. Pretty handy. And again, it slides out. We can put that to the side because that just goes over to the other side as another spot to have it. But here we just have a free fall with the trapdoor, and then leads down to the bottom, which is like this acid pit with this extra added flap now to extend the pit with like a molded piece. Inside just kind of a sticker, the kind of cool. You could say it was slime or whatever you want to say, just because acid is kind of going to be the end for any character falling in that. So maybe it's a slime pit. Wink wink. There's 3 kind of pegs here. And so those little creatures kind of be inhabiting the pit. I'm going to go on 3 different spots. There's 1 inside the base and 2 in the little extension piece. But they're kind of the same hole as the Origins figures, so you can kind of take them apart, make it look like they're submerged in whatever this substance is, instead of just laying them on there, you know. A little less imagination in a way that you can kind of do this and you're still imagining that, you know, they're submerged in this liquid for play or even for display, having a figure kind of in the pit. But then also you have these little creatures that are really cool. Actual 3D pieces instead of just sticker creatures. Instead, we actually have pieces. Kind of useful with this one that's the kind of little extra enemies maybe heroes would be fighting instead of the big bad guys. We also have the spider that has a few holes that can kind of be put on the walls and things around the lair. And just another little enemy that somebody might have to fight off. The giant spider. There's a peg at the top of the mountain up here, and then a few on the other side of the wall. Moving to the other side, we have 2 peg spots here to put the spider just up on the walls. Or the old microphone piece that's now just kind of a wolf with a spinning head, so you can kind of turn it in or outside of the snake mountain, whichever one you want to see it on. It actually has kind of a spot here at the bottom. You can plug the spider in there, so it's kind of like a little special piece there, the spider layer in the wolf head. And this just has like a clip here that it sets inside of. I think I've seen some people, this is just a separate piece amongst their things and you need to set it yourself. This one already had it installed. You just kind of line up the bits, hang that up there at the top of the layer, which again in the original 80s it didn't have this shelf because the microphone was such a long piece originally. Now we really have some layers here, like a full playset like Castle Grayskull has the different levels. So at the top, the old sticker at the top was where the batteries were for the microphone mechanism. So we have the similar kind of design. Looks like it's weirdly upscaled or something instead of like just redrawn with detail. So we don't have the microphone aspect, but the kind of pieces and look are here in favor of better kind of display oriented features. Like here at the top it has the peg for the throne. We have that piece here. At the bottom, the sticker decal on the floor, some trapdoor, spider, little creatures and whatnot, just to kind of decorate the floor. We got the weapon rack that might just get tucked up in there or wherever, because some of the pieces are just kind of floating bits wherever you want to put it to do your layout. But that is kind of an intended spot there up in the back for the rack. And then with this level here, we have little bits that we can slide the cage. So the cage door opens, it's got a floor with a cell. The other spot it can be here instead of the trap door over on the other side. Kind of slid up here, it's kind of floating, which I do kind of wonder what gravity kind of would do over time. You'd be messing around with this. But there you can kind of have the prison. If Skeletor or whatever has captured someone, they're inside the cell there. It's a little better than just a net, and that it can kind of go 2 places. So I feel like that's kind of a pretty cool improvement. Kind of has the same gate appearance as the entrance up at the top of the mountain, so they're not really reinventing everything for this. It's improvements that make a lot of sense. Really. It really changes the layout, but I'm not seeing anything that's a stretch or it's nonsensical or anything. Here's the little trigger for the mouth at the front is just sticking out here. And again, things like the throne, I mean, you could put it wherever you wanted to set up your display, or if you were playing with this. And so there's also kind of directions for closing the playset. Like one thing, the throne actually can fit inside of the cell. So that saves some space. You can kind of tuck the ladder back in here with the weapon rack. Get the cage up in here. The acid pit, little tab folds up as well. Now the only problem is you have to get the bridge pulled out of the front. That kind of sits at the top here to hold. And then it will mostly close together pretty well. It's a little tight with all the stuff in there. But of course we have the little latches. Also hook over. We have like a closed Snake Mountain as well, with all the stuff inside. So we don't have to have anything on the outside that could be lost or put somewhere else. So as a toy, compared to the original Snake Mountain, a lot of like play improvements and things, you gotta kind of use your imagination, you know, like it's not gonna be actual size, like they're scaling the mountain with the path. You gotta kind of imagine it's bigger than it is. But they have increased the size overall anyway to kind of help with that. And the kind of general path through the playset, if you're getting captured with the mechanisms of the cage, or trying to help your friend escape the mountain, it's pretty well done. I don't think I'm gonna miss not having the microphone, just because the battery stuff just makes things more complicated, really. Cool idea back in the day. I'm very happy with this as the Snake Mountain representative for Origins here, kind of representing the old playset, but keeping in mind a lot of other aspects of displaying the figures and things like the cartoon, the very specific like throne that's almost straight out of there, and just more features that if this was like a kid's toy, which it really is in the end, there's a lot more to do than originally. I mean, we have a lot more electronics and things now that you could do a voice changer with a phone or something like that, so more physical play features, and the trapdoors and cages and the little creatures just makes more sense. It's something you can only get buying a toy, buying a play set, buying this. Really a piece of art is what we really get here. If you're a collector, these are all just still art. Someone had to design it. I mean, it had to be appealing in some way to sell it. It is commercial art. It takes an artist's design either way, and there are those that appreciate all forms of art, and this is the kind of art I really appreciate, because I never got to have the original 80s toys as a kid. I always got to see the cartoon reruns, all the toys long gone from the store shelves. So Origins is an awesome way to be able to get figures to kind of represent that original toy line without hunting down the beat up old originals, with all the improvements for the adult collector in mind in a lot of aspects. The posing and the playsets that are kind of more design display oriented. They still have a lot of fun play features too, because I do appreciate that I kind of get to play around with these. I kind of get to do the video and in between like doing your displays and things for your collection. A lot of it is kind of old wish fulfillment from when you were a kid, that you wished you had all this stuff. Whether you did or didn't, these are nice newer versions of those originals. A lot of great old designs in mind, and a lot of great new ideas brought into this. So I open all my Masters of the Universe Origins stuff I get here. And in general, I open retro toys and stuff. This just happened to be a new line that is representing an old toy line, so it works for my collection. But if you like to see these or other old action figures of the past, stick around right here, and that way I get to see you in the next video.